Alright, hello students. Instead of doing a bunch of little format presentations, or a bunch of little presentations, I thought it actually might be more helpful for me to go through the rubric first, and then to show you an exemplary student extended essay, which I will attach to an Edmodo document. So that way you all know how to format your extended essay, and that's really what these tutorials are about. But I really wanted to go over the rubric with you so that way you all know exactly how your extended essays are going to be graded, and that way you can make sure that you know you are including everything that you need to. Okay, and I'm actually going to attach this rubric to this link as well, so that way you can have it. Okay, but what you need to know is that your extended essay is graded on criterion labeled A through K, so quite a few criterion. First thing you're graded on is your research question. This criterion assesses the extent to which the purpose of the essay is specified. In many subjects, the aim of the essay will normally be expressed as a question, and therefore the criterion is called the research question. Certain disciplines may permit or encourage different ways of formulating the research task. So some of you have a thesis statement. That is fine as a research question, okay? But you need to have some kind of research question. And note, to get a 2, to get all the points, you need to have the research question, and it needs to be clearly stated in either the introduction or the title page. It is sharply focused and making the effective treatment possible within the word limit. Okay? So that's what you need to know about the research question. Introduction. You need an introduction. The criterion assesses the extent to which the introduction makes clear how the research question relates to existing knowledge on the topic and explains how the topic chosen is significant and worthy of investigation. Okay, so whatever your introduction is all about, what you need to make sure you're doing is you're contextualizing your information. Also, just like we did for the literary analysis, this would be a good place to end with your research question and then answer with a thesis. Okay. Criterion C, investigation. How did you actually research? To what extent the investigation is planned, an appropriate range of sources has been consulted, or data has been gathered that is relevant to the research question. Where the research question does not lend itself to a systematic investigation of the subject in which the essay is registered, the maximum level that can be awarded for the criterion is 2. Okay, so really what's important here is that this is asking about your sources. Did you use appropriate sources, and did you document them correctly? An imaginative range of appropriate sources has been consulted, or data has been gathered, and relevant material has been carefully selected. The investigation has been well planned. So this is a difference between those of you who are waiting to the last minute to go find some sources on the internet, to those of you who carefully thought, okay, so this is my topic, I know I need to read this, I know I need to read this, and I know I need to read this. Right? And you've thought that all out. That's this part here. You're actually grading that. Okay? Knowledge and understanding, where the research question does not lend itself to a systematic investigation of the subject, etc., etc. Let's just look. I'm not going to read that part. The essay demonstrates a very good knowledge and understanding of the topic studied. Where appropriate, the essay clearly and precisely locates the investigation in an academic context. So that's just making sure that you not only know and understand your work, but that you know that it is part of the subject that you're submitting it under. So if you're writing about, I don't know, schizophrenia in England, you need to be able to articulate that that is a psychology paper, and you need to be able to show how schizophrenia in England is related to some kind of psychological concepts. Okay, same goes for if you're doing something historical. You need to be able to show that whatever your topic is in fact historical. Reasoned argument. Ideas are presented clearly and in a logical and coherent manner. The essay succeeds in developing a reasoned and convincing argument in relation to the research question. So there's order in the way that you've developed your essay. This is the organization of your essay. Okay, so you want to make sure that you're logical and coherent when you are presenting your information. Application of analytical and evaluative skills appropriate to the subject. The essay shows effective and sophisticated application of appropriate analytical and evaluative skills. So you know how to use analysis. Not only do you know how to use analysis, you're also evaluating. So remember that your essays need to be arguments, right? And that you're making claims, and that your claims are evaluative. Okay. Use of language appropriate to the subject. The language used communicates clearly and precisely. Terminology appropriate to the subject is used accurately with skill and understanding. So if you are someone who's writing an extended essay on film, you need to be able to be using film terminology, cinematography, director, pan shot, blocking. All of that needs to be showing up in your extended essay. If you're doing one in history, same thing. Literature, same thing, right? So you need to make sure your language is appropriate to the subject. Conclusion. You need a conclusion. And it needs to be relevant to the research question and is consistent with the evidence presented in the essay. An effective conclusion is clearly stated, it is relevant to research question and consistent with the evidence presented in the essay. It should include unresolved questions where appropriate to the subject concerned. Okay, so this part right here, if you're stumped to write about what to write about a conclusion, it should include unresolved questions where appropriate to the subject concerned. That could be your topic right there. Okay, formal presentation. This one is really important. This is how your essay looks, the actual format of it. What you need to make sure you understand is not only that you have something consistent. So if you're doing MLA format, you need to make sure it's MLA all the way through. If you're doing APA format, it needs to be APA all the way through. And you also need to make sure that you have a title page, you have a table of contents, you have page numbers. If you have illustrative material like diagrams or charts or pictures, that those are put in correctly. You are inserting quotes correctly. Documentation, like a bibliography, works cited page, and appendices if you need those. Okay, all of that needs to be included. You are graded on the way that it looks. These are easy points, so you need to make sure you have all of this. These are an easy 4 points right here. Okay. You need an abstract. Abstract is like a baby little summary of what your essay is, and it comes before the essay. What you need to have in your abstract, and I would separate it into these 3 different sections. You need to have the research question that was investigated. You need to have how the investigation was undertaken, and you need to have the conclusion of your essay. So you summarize all of those 3 things and you put those in your abstract. The abstract needs to be 300 words or less. Notice that if your abstract exceeds 300 words, you get a 0 for this part. Again, this is a super easy one to get points on, right? So these 2, criterion H and J. Lastly, K, holistic judgment. This means, let me just read it. The purpose of this criterion is to assess the qualities that distinguish an essay from average, such as intellectual initiative, depth of understanding, and insight. While these qualities will be clearly present in the best work, less successful essays may also show some evidence of them and should be rewarded under this criterion. So, this is actually the supervisor grade, more or less. So, depending on those of you who've developed a really good relationship with your supervisor, you've talked to your supervisor, they allow input. They are supposed to fill out a little report for your extended essay. And whoever gets to grade your extended essay will look at that report and they'll say, it sounds like so-and-so was really engaged in this essay even though it wasn't the best, so I'm going to give them a 4. Or, that report says that they didn't meet at all, so that means they weren't that engaged, so I'm going to give that essay a 1. Okay, so this is sort of the chance for the examiner to step back and ask, okay, so what did the supervisor have to say about this student? See why it was so important to work with your supervisors throughout this whole process? It's actually also easy points if you've developed a really strong relationship and you met with your supervisor regularly. Okay. All right, that was the rubric. The next presentation is going to walk you through a exemplary extended essay so that way you can see the format and all that.